What's in your NFL reporter's notebook, Tom?
I think that the clearest top story of the week is the George Pickens trade, and I've heard and seen so much confusion over why the Steelers were moving on from George
Yes.
Pickens. There's no doubt that George Pickens is an unbelievably talented player. He was an unbelievably talented player when he was coming out of Georgia several years ago. But the same reason that he went in the second round of the draft rather than being the top 20 pick is the reason that the Steelers are moving on from him at this stage. My understanding is they just got to a point where they knew they were not going to extend him. And so rather than playing it out this year, seeing how it went with him playing opposite DK Metcalf, hoping for a compensatory draft pick if he leaves, which would be out in the 2027 draft, you take the certainty of the 2026 comp pick or 2026 third round pick. You are insured of getting the pick, which you're not with compensatory picks. It's all about free agent movement. For Dallas, it certainly makes a lot of sense in terms of they needed somebody opposite CeeDee Lamb. They needed something to bring another element to their offense. But when it comes to why the Steelers moved on from George Pickens, this was not just a snap decision. This was not, he overreacted to them paying and trading for DK Metcalf. It was everything over the past several years. Again, unbelievably talented football player, but there were a variety of different issues. There was tardiness to meetings. There was a couple of games where he showed up late to the locker room. You always want guys there before you turn in your inactives 90 minutes before the game. There were multiple occasions George Pickens wasn't in the locker room yet. Obviously, the personal fouls, that stuff that everybody saw on the field. There were at times missed assignments, which might be related to him being late to meetings. And it just kind of sucks some of the energy out of the locker room when you have somebody who, on a weekly basis, you just don't know what type of things they might be involved with beyond making unbelievable catches. And it was the same stuff, like I said, coming out of Georgia, where there was a lot of concern about the level to which you're going to have to hold George Pickens' hand. Not as a football player, he's going to go out and make catches, but it was about just doing all those other things right. And there were times that he had clashes with various quarterbacks. He was certainly somebody who wanted Russell Wilson to be playing, not Justin Fields last year. There's a lot there, and none of that's to say that they're not going to get the most out of him in Dallas. He's got a massive opportunity here, Rich, with 1 year left on his contract to play his way either into getting franchise tag next year or into becoming an unrestricted free agent and getting massive money on the open market. It's all out there for George Pickens. There's never been any doubt about his talent. It's putting all these other things together. He talked about that himself yesterday in his conference call with reporters that, there's a maturity aspect that he's working on. And part of that now is him going to Dallas and making the most of this opportunity. As long as Dak Prescott is throwing up some of those 50-50 balls and letting George go make plays, I think they're going to get along just fine. The Steelers bet in all this at a time that they don't know for certain who their quarterback is going to be is that, between some of the other guys that got on the roster, Calvin Austin, Robert Woods, who was a signing, Roman Wilson was a third-round pick last year and really didn't play because of injuries, that group is going to make up for it, in addition to obviously having another really, premier threat on the other side in DK Metcalf.
All right, so lots of things there, Tom. Let's take it kind of one at a time from one team to the other. Steelers. You just described all the things as to why they would trade away George Pickens and his clear talent on the field. Got it. They are, however, trying to make sure and assure themselves of a certain Southern California resident coming to Western Pennsylvania and saying yes, despite whatever is holding Aaron Rodgers back from delivering that message right now. Any word if the Steelers gave him a heads up? Hey, that really talented other receiver we have? He's now a Dallas Cowboy. And how, or concerned that might not land properly with a guy they're trying to get. Tom.
My understanding, Rich, is that there was no heads up given. This wasn't them consulting with Aaron Rodgers on the trade. Aaron Rodgers technically is not on the team right now.
I know.
It's this very unusual situation where you think the guy probably is coming, but he's not actually part of the team.
Right.
No, they did not give him a heads up on it. I think that it's notable that when Aaron Rodgers began seriously considering going to the Steelers, he made a point to go and throw with DK Metcalf and not with George Pickens. I would also say, Rich, when I'm describing George Pickens as a player And again, unbelievable talent, but not the most detailed guy. Again, there are issues at times with missed assignments with George Pickens. We know that Aaron Rodgers, whether it's with Mike Williams not running the red line last year with the Jets, whether it's with some of the young receivers he had at the end in Green Bay, or going back and forth with Garrett Wilson in training camp last year, if Aaron Rodgers can't count on where you're going to be on the field, he very quickly is not going to have use for you anymore. I'm not saying that's why the Steelers made the trade, but if you're profiling the type of wide receiver that Aaron Rodgers would want, George Pickens, as talented as he is, may not be the best mesh if and when Aaron Rodgers becomes the Steelers quarterback.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show live weekdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Roku Sports Channel in the U.S.